296 hay. They made a mistake here. Look, they made a hay without a dot. It's a hay with a bracket. On top, up higher. Over down, up higher. Yeah, that's it. Let's do down. Go back and down.
Okay.
במקום שמותר לו לאכול על ידי כריכת ידיו במפה או בשעת כפפות, in any place where you're allowed to eat bread using gloves or wrapping your hand, when is that case?
In a place where
Kosher room?
in a place where there's far away water, or there's no way to find
And the water is very far
Yeah.
away, and all you can do is cover your hands
Yeah.
with a napkin.
Yeah.
צריך שיכרוך את שתי ידיו במפה או שילבש כפפות על שתי ידיו. You have to wrap both your hands. ואין די בכך שיכסה יד אחד ויוכל רק באמצעות אותה יד. It's not enough just to cover one hand. וצריך שיכסה את ידיו בכל המקום מצריך נטילת ידיים. You need to cover not just the fingertips, but the whole place that requires נטילת ידיים. According to the Rama, who says that you can eat with a fork and a knife, do you think he requires covering two hands? Let me ask it this way. Why is there a difference between Maran and the Rama? Maran says you have to cover your hand. The Rama says you could just use a fork and a knife. Why?
Well, I mean, you're gonna have, if you're gonna grab it with your hand, you're gonna have direct connection with the bread.
So Maran says not enough that you're eating with a fork. You have to make sure your hands are covered in case you touch the bread. You're not going to touch it with your hands. So according to Maran, it's obvious that you need covering on both hands. According to the Rama, you need to hold the spoon with both hands or just with one hand? Just with one. So Minastam, probably Rama does not agree that you need to cover both hands. It doesn't say this here, but it might sound. Look, Baruch Hashem, I'm not so smart. Biur halacha, he already said what I said.
But in the case if the bread is already inside a bag, you can use the bag as...
No. According to Maran, your hand has to be covered. According to the Rama, you could use the bag, maybe.
Oh, okay.
You understand the difference? Maran is afraid you might come to touch the bread, so you have to cover your hands.
Oh, okay.
Rama is saying as long as you make sure you don't touch the bread, you can use something else to touch the bread.
Okay. So instead of the fork, I can eat my bread inside its bag.
In a bag, that's right. But many rabbis argue to the Rama, remember?
Yes.
Because of that, according to Maran, eating inside the bag would not be good enough.
Oh, okay. So very high risk.
Right. Hey. בדין האמור לאל שצריך לחזר חמיים מלפניו עד מרחק של 4 מילין ומרחב עד מרחק של פחות ממילין. That which we said that you have to travel 2.5 miles forward or half a mile backwards to look for water. יש לשער לפי זמן הליכה למקום כזה. You have to calculate it using how long it would take you to walk that far. What does that mean? As opposed to what?
Driving?
Yeah. ולכן אם יש מים בריחוק מקום של יותר מ4 מילין מפניו או מיל מאחריו, and if you're in a place where you have water and it's only a full meal ahead of you or 1 meal behind you, אלא שיש בידו להגיע לשם בזמן קצר בתורי של רכב. But let's say you could drive there. Driving 2.5 miles is not the same as walking 2.5 miles.
Oh yeah, definitely.
אם יכול להגיע למים שמלפניו בתוך 72 דקות, if you could reach there 72 minutes, ומאחריו בתוך פחות מ18 דקות, צריך לעשות כן. Or 18 minutes behind you, that's what you have to do. So let's explain. Basically, when the poskim say 2.5 miles this way, half a mile that way, how long does it take you to drive 2.5 miles in your car?
2 minutes?
2 minutes? 3 minutes?
3 minutes?
How long does it take you to walk 2.5 miles?
15, 20 minutes?
2.5 miles?
2.5 miles? Walk, yeah.
No, maybe a minute and a half, no?
Walk. 2 miles.
2 miles and oh yeah, like easy, like 4 minutes, no?
What?
You guys must be related to Superman.
No. It's like for at least 30 minutes.
2 miles?
At least 30 minutes. 2 miles. If you walk a little bit fast.
From your house, from his house to here.
That's not 2 miles.
A mile takes about 20 minutes to walk at a
Yeah.
moderate pace. You can walk
See?
faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Is that
about
about-
You can walk
50 minutes.
slower
So it's talking about 40 minutes.
No, 50 minutes.
for two.
Oh, okay, I see.
Chachamim seem to say it'll walk you about 72 minutes. That's the number they use. An hour and 12 minutes they give you.
Well, it depends the terrain, because if we're talking about South Oaxaca, there's hills up and
Yeah,
down.
no,
up
but
and down.
probably they put that because they're talking about what about if you're going with all your family, kids, olders, and
Oh no, so that's a different story.
Do you guys think you walk the third mile as fast as you walk the first mile?
no.
No, especially if you're having your family with you,
Mhm.
make triple that.
A
time.
person walks about 2.5 to 3 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
But Chachamim say 72 minutes.
Yeah.
And 18 minutes backwards is half a mile.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what it is. Because it took me an hour to hike 4 miles the other day.
Yeah, but that's different.
It's different.
That's because you were using rollerblades. Because maybe you're used to walking.
Yeah.
297. Zayin. You see Zayin?
Yeah. Im.
אם היה נוסע בשיירה. If you were traveling, what's a שיירה?
I would just
What does a caravan mean to you?
like a group of people, family,
A
kids.
group of people traveling together.
Yeah.
So you were traveling with a group of people.
But you also
But
carry
not
food with
family.
you.
Let's say you were traveling. You say, hey, I'm afraid to walk to LA alone because maybe they're going to mug me over there in the middle. So I say, are you walking to LA? You walking to LA? Let's walk
Yes,
together.
oh,
Yeah?
Okay.
It's like a carpool, but
Yeah.
with walking.
Okay. It's
You're
much
walking
faster.
together because the more people you are, the safer it's going to be for you to walk.
Mhm.
But here's a halakha. You cannot sell tzitzit to a person who's not Jewish. Why? You could argue today whether it's talking about everybody, maybe they just the bad people. They were afraid. You know, Jews are traveling. They say, oh, look, there's a few Jewish guys, they're traveling. Let's go together. It's very easy for an enemy of Am Yisrael to come take some tzitzit, say he's Jewish, join the Shaar, and then in the middle of the road, he's the one who mugs them. It's a matter of security. How many times do you find people, they try to infiltrate maybe a Bet Knesset, they live dressed like Jewish, they come to collect money, they come to... Same thing. So you're traveling with the caravan. וירא לעזוב את השיירה ולך לבדו לחפש מים. Now you have to wash your hands. And you're afraid to leave everybody to go look for water. You know, you're afraid to walk an hour that way. What if you come back and they're gone? נחשב הדבר כשעת הדחק. It's considered a very pressing time. הוא רשאי לכרוך ידיו במפה או לבוש כפות ולאכול בלא נטילת ידיים אפילו יש מים בתוך 4 מילים לפניו בתוך מיל מאחריו. Even if you know there's water in that way or in this way, you're allowed to stay there and wrap your hands. Because it's not a normal situation. It's a situation where you're afraid of your safety. והמחמיר בזה שלא לאכול עד שיגיע למקום שהשמיים תבוא עליו ברכה. And a person who's strict and he doesn't eat until he finds water, he'll be blessed. I mean, you can be lenient and eat, or you can wait. Either way is okay.
I guess based on the condition of the person. So some can handle more, some can handle less.
Let's say Israeli soldiers with 2 other people guarding this corner. Oh, now it's time to eat lunch. He has to eat lunch while a guard. He's in an Arab village. He knows that in his house there's water. He doesn't have to go into the house to go look for water. Because his job is to stand here.
Yes.
And because it's dangerous for him to go there.
Uh-huh.
In that kind of situation, probably he could put on his gloves and he could eat his sandwich. Yeah?
So worst case scenario, how about if there's no way to have something to cover his hand. There's like a critical situation.
Where he doesn't even have what to cover his hands
Yeah.
with?
Can he use like part of his T-shirt?
I guess in that situation you can rely on the Rama. And you can eat in such a way where you're not touching the bread.
So based on more organic experience, I can, if there's no fork, I can cut a fresh stick and use the stick.
And use the stick.
Oh, okay.
Really, it's as long as you don't touch it with your
Okay.
hands. Or you could take a leaf and hold with the leaf.
Oh. Oh.
I know it sounds funny, but that's...
Yeah, I must.
Discretion must be
You know who will experience?
why we can touch the bread.
Can't?
Why we can't.
Because HaShamayim made a decree that just your hands are impure, and the bread, before, just like the Kohen, before he ate the bread, he had to wash his hands, so do we all.
So, if we touch the bread, not washing your hand, you're violating a
Rabbinic
rabbinic
halacha.
halacha.
Rabbinic, correct. There's no Torah mitzvah. What were you going to say?
No, I mean, I guess the people who lives more like in the country or that are used to more like walking and animals and farmers and stuff like that. I guess they will experience this
More often
yeah,
than people
yeah.
who live in the middle of the city.
In the city,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. But people in the city can also experience this. Like I told you, when you travel, when you're flying, you know, when you're in some kind of situation like
Oh,
that,
yes,
it could
yeah.
be your similar situation.
Yeah.
So we're on page 297. Welcome back. Hamachil acherim. What if you're feeding somebody else? You know, your grandparents are around. Your job is to cut up the food and feed it to them. Or you're working in a hospital as a nurse, and your job is to feed people. Or you're, I don't know, such a situation. Eino tzarich netilat yadayim. 297. You don't need to wash your hands. What does it mean? It means the person who's touching the bread, but he's not eating it, he's feeding somebody else.
No, it can't be.
Why?
Well, because the whole reason is about the blessing, right?
No, the whole reason is the tameh. So how can somebody feed somebody
Is the bread actually becoming tameh?
No.
if her or his hand is dirty?
No.
Dirty, okay, dirty, that's gross.
I guess
Not
tameh is dirty, right?
No, tameh is not dirty. When the Kohanim would come eat their bread,
Oh,
they
I
had to
see.
wash their hands.
Oh,
So
okay.
because of that, Chachamim made a rule that even you, not a Kohen, you also wash your hands.
Okay.
Now I'm touching the bread so you could eat it. I don't have to wash my hands. I'm not the person who's touching and the person who's are eating are not the same person.
Because he doesn't have the intention to eat it. To eat the
Right.
bread.
And this one who's eating it is not touching it.
Yeah.
Though, just like what we said in the last halakha, that let's say you can't find water. According to Maran, you cover your hands, like with gloves. According to the Ramah, use a fork. As long as you're not touching the bread, you can eat the bread without netilat yadayim.
You say motzi?
You say hamotzi, yeah.
That's right.
Hamotzi is not dependent on washing.
What about the old pizza, the old pita trick, you know, where people buy falafels and they hold it in a wrapper, so they don't have to say motzi on their
Yes, that
falafels.
only works if there's no water within 2.5 miles of where they're eating their falafel. Good luck.
Next time I buy falafel, we'll just bring it out to the middle of the desert here.
V'ha'ochel, and the one who's eating, צריך נטילת ידיים אף על פי שאחר נותן לתוך פיו ואינו נוגע במאכל. The one who's eating has to wash his hands, even though he's not touching the bread. Somebody else is.
But
How does he get it in his mouth?
You're getting it into his mouth.
Oh, you think
But the purpose
he's holding his
He's
mouth open.
being fed.
Okay.
והוא הדין האוכל במגרפה. That's the same rule as somebody who's eating with a magrefa. What is a magrefa? He says, pirush kli sheyesh lo shinayim. Some kind of utensil that has teeth.
Like fork.
Either a fork, or like a Zev's falafel wrapper. שצריך לתת ידיים, do you also need to wash your hands? הגה says לרמה ואסור להאכיל למי שלא נטל ידיו. It's forbidden to give food to somebody who did not wash his hands. משום ולפני עיוור תיתן מכשול. Says the Rama, there's a biblical commandment of do not put a stumbling block in front of a blind person. I spoke about this in my drasha a few weeks ago. And this person does not make it a bracha. Now you're giving him bread, you're causing him to do an avila.
But if he had water to wash his hands, why he can't eat the bread? Or maybe he can move, maybe he's sick or something?
You're having a guest for Shabbat. I don't want to wash my hands, I already showered.
Oh.
How can you give him hamotzi? Says the Rama. He didn't wash his hands. If you don't give him bread, he's not going to do an avera. But now that you're giving him bread,
He's
he's doing an avera because of you.
Just leave the bread by the table.
So is there a way like to politely ask your guests to wash their hands before?
Yeah, sometimes when I make meals, you know, when I go to Israel, I have family that not everyone wants to wash their hands, and they know they should. I say, okay, Chava, I'm going to do hamotzi, and I'm going to slice the right amount of bread for everybody who watched. 3 people? Good, 3 slices of bread. The first time they thought I was joking. I really cut 3 slices of bread. I gave them to my 3 little cousins, your little kids. They listened to me. The other ones didn't listen.
So
They said, what about me? The other people asked. I said, go to the kitchen, cut your own bread. Don't look at me. I don't serve you. Next week, everybody washed. Halakha doesn't need to be like that. I'll explain. We're going to talk about that soon. Obviously, the world is not as easy as that. Not everybody's in the kind of situation like me where you could say, hey, everybody wash your hands, and they wash their hands. Sometimes everyone wash your hands, and they get mad at you. So it's a different place, a different time. We're going to talk about that soon. Let's look at the notes here on page 297. Probably, it could be today, but probably, if we don't do today, then on Monday next week, we can do a letter from Rabbi Yosef Masas about having guests who don't make brachot or don't wash their hands or so on and so forth. And what do we do in that kind of situation? In the middle of 297, the bottom of the middle section, it says chet. See chet? Hamachil pat et chavero. If you give your friend pat, bread, not in California. V'no ochel b'atzmo, he doesn't eat on his own. Af al pi shenogea, I mean, you're not eating, but you're feeding somebody. Af al pi shenogea b'pat b'yadav, lo tiknu chamim shidol ledavka. Even though you're the one touching the bread, Chachamim did not make a rule of washing on you. Ve'ochel pat v'no nogea ba, and if somebody eats bread but he doesn't touch it. V'kagon shechavor machnis lo ma'achal toch piv, because I'm feeding you or someone's feeding you. Tzarich litol yadav, you must wash your hands. ומכל מקום, page 298, nonetheless, אם היו ידיו של המאכיל מלוכלכות, if the one who's feeding the bread, his hands were dirty, עובדיה, צריך לנקותם קודם שיגע בפת, אף על פי שאינו אוכל. You have to wash your hands, at least to make them clean, before you touch the bread, even though you're not eating. That's what you're talking about. It's not tuma, it's dirty. You can't touch bread with dirty hands. וכן, אם לא נטל המאכיל ידיו שחרית, and then if you're in a situation where the one who's feeding you the bread did not wash his hands in the morning when he woke up, or שלא נטל ידיו בצדו מבית הכיסא, or he didn't wash his hands when he left the bathroom, צריך לטול ידיו קודם שיגע בפת. He has to wash his hands before he touches the bread. We learned this earlier, back when we were doing the first years of the Kehillat. So even if you're feeding a baby, you have to do Netilat Yadayim on your own hands. That's because of the Ruach Ha'ah, because of the spirit that's on your hands. Obviously, this may end up being a machloket between Mekubalim and non-Mekubalim, but I'm not getting my head in this right now. ויש להחמיר בזה גם אם דבר שטיפול במשקה. ומאכיל פת לאחר, the bottom line, the one who's feeding bread to somebody else. וידיו של המאכיל מכוסות במפה בכפפות, and you decided, I'm smart, I'm going to cover my hands with a glove. או שמאכילו על ידי כף, or you're going to feed them with a fork or a spoon. אף על פי כן צריך האוכל ליטול ידיו קודם לכן, nonetheless you still have to wash your hands beforehand. Even though we said, the Rambam would not agree. The Rambam says you can choose to eat with a napkin on your hands anytime you want. The other poskim understood only when you don't have water. 299, if you מאכיל פת לאחרים, הוא השמש המגיש לפניהם את האוכל, צריך ליטול ידיו קודם שיגע בפת. If the guy who's feeding you is the shamash, he's like the host, he's the waiter, he has to wash his hands. Why? Chamim say he's different than somebody else, because the guy who's busy right in the kitchen bringing the food, serving you, the shamash is like the servant, the food servant, that he's so busy that he might also eat while he's serving you. And because of that, he has to wash his hands too. If a person's eating bread with a spoon or a fork, חייב ליטול ידיו קודם לכן, he must wash hands beforehand. We already learned this yesterday.
The person who's serving, I mean, even if it's like he puts a basket of bread on the table.
No, it's not. We don't have a shamash today. Don't worry about a shamash. You don't have such a person today. Maybe some of you, if you're very wealthy, you have somebody who runs your kitchen and serves you and feeds you and pulls out your chair and puts in your chair and pours your drinks. And so most of you don't have such a person.
Certainly in Arab countries they used to do that.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, today you don't have such a person. It's like a butler. Shamash is like a butler. You know, in the olden days.
Yeah, he used to cut your food.
Everything, mamash. So because he's so involved, it's probable he might eat your food too.
Jack has one of those.
Butler.
Someone cut your food and
Right.
serve you.
I've had, since birth I've had.
איסור נתינת פת למי שאינו נוטל ידיו, the prohibition of feeding bread to somebody who does not wash, וכן איסור נתינת דבר מאכל למי שמברך, and feeding a person who will not make a blessing on food. יתבאר בסייעתא דשמיא להלן. We're going to explain it later in the Shulchan Aruch in chapter 169. Right now we're just finishing chapter 163. Because I don't want to make you wait 6 months till we get there. And because I cannot pass up learning with you at the Shulchan, we'll be upset in the sauce. I want to read with you a few sentences in Kuf Samech Gimmel, and we have time today to do a letter from Rabbi Yonatan Halevy. So let's do this. That's a welcome back gift for Zeh. We missed you. On page, let me find Kuf Samech Gimmel.
Oh, do you have that handout? Also?
I will get it for you. It's in my house actually.
You can also, if you have a PDF.
I do have a
PDF.
PDF.
Text. I started watching the YouTube video. Didn't finish it.
We are just in luck that this book ends in chapter 168, and the letter, the halakha I want to read to you is in chapter 169. Have no fear. We still have a Shulchan Aruch in front of us. I'll read to you chapter 169. If you're in Sefaria, you want to go to halakha, Shulchan Aruch, Orach Chaim, 169. Guys, the teas are smelling nice today. What is it? I have a fancy tea going on over here.
Have some fresh
I have
mints.
Earl Grey over there. That's right. Someone just brought Earl Grey to the tea.
Yeah, I guess I gotta get tea. Everybody's
That's right.
got
It's
it.
the thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go.
Am I missing?
I could have brought up my Gatorade from the car, but
You're sitting next to the wrong guy for that. I'll read you the ingredients.
Ingredients of what?
Gatorade.
Oh.
It's the whole Megillah. Okay, so it's halacha.
169. Halakha, Shulchan Aruch, the first book, HaShamayim, and then let me find also. Let's see what I
HaShamayim. That's 169, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Chapter 169.
But is it? That's not it. I don't see it. Yo lo tengo, but it's, I forget what.
Right here.
Oh,
Let's go right there. And then let's go back. Halakha. Shulchan Aruch, HaShamayim.
oh, okay, that.
And then chapter
169.
Yeah, chapter 169.
Sanitary breath.
Okay.
It's all here.
Okay, let's look here. Kuf Samech Tet, chapter 169. You found it? Halakha Bet. Lo yiten lechol. You cannot give somebody to eat. Eren lemí she'yodea bo shivarech. Unless you're talking about a person who knows how to make a bracha.
So that has all kinds of possibilities.
Oh, yes. Ramah says you might be able to be lenient when you give a poor person food. Why?
Poor.
So what? You can't give a poor Jewish person food without a bracha.
If he's weak,
Mishnah B'Av, you click on that Sefaria, and you click commentaries, and you click Mishnah B'Av. He says in 11, Yud Aleph, בתורת צדקה, דלא מפקיעין על מצוות צדקה בשביל חשש שהם לא יברך. We don't get rid of the mitzvah of tzedakah just out of this doubt that maybe he won't make a bracha on the food. It's not a good enough reason to not do tzedakah for somebody else. Yeah? Look back up on the top. I skipped the halakha. Look at the last line of 169a, Aleph, 1. ואסור ליתן לו פרוסת פת. You cannot give a person a slice of bread אלא אם כן יודע בו שנטל ידיו, unless you know that a person has washed his hands. And that's when Maran continues and says you can't give a person food unless you know that he knows how to make a bracha. He's not talking about feeding you. He's talking about you cannot say, hey, I'm going to send mishloach manot to somebody if he's not going to make a bracha on that food. I can't send bread to somebody. Hey, here's the challah for Shabbat, unless he knows how to make a bracha.
So is this accepted? Is the Shulchan
Look,
Aruch?
both Maran and the Rama agree.
Yeah. So what goes?
I saw some poskim talk about what about being a waiter in a restaurant. Your whole life you're busy doing this.
Or you send your mother.
Let's say that this is exactly the reason that I'm here tonight.
Let's say
Because
what?
the ramifications of this are I mean they're endless. inviting people to your house for Shabbat dinner that are not going to make a bracha on the food. They don't know how to wash properly. They don't, or like I said before, they're not going to wash. I told you about my Israeli family. I make them wash because I'm only going to cut them a slice of bread for whoever washed. But I can do that. I know my family. I'm close to them. No one's upset at me. Everyone's going to end up washing. Balamase. This could be sending mishloach manot. You know how many hundreds of mishloach manot we send Kehillat HaShamayim? All kinds of people that make brachot, don't make brachot, we know. There's no, where's the end of this? You bring, I don't know, it's Rosh Hashanah, a Pesach. You want to bring matzot to your Jewish coworker who doesn't even know that it's Pesach tomorrow. You give him a box of matzot. Shulchan Aruch says, what are you, crazy? Now all the matzot he's going to eat, it's your fault that he made a hamotzi on them without washing his hands. He didn't even make a hamotzi. He ate it without making a hamotzi. Now that's also your fault. Basically everything that we would be doing, we think we're doing a mitzvah. Shulchan Aruch, man, he just made an avera for us. Before you appreciate the solution to the problem, you have to appreciate the problem. Yes, because if the problem is not important to you, then the solution doesn't really make a difference. I learned this a long time ago. I used to find, wow, look at this piece of this Moshe Feinstein, Rabbi Yosef. Look, it's amazing. There was a problem, and they got around the problem. And I'm started teaching the halachot to people who didn't care about halachot. Meaning, okay, there's a problem, so we're...
You just do it.
We'll do it anyways.
Yeah, do it anyways.
Those people don't appreciate the genius of the Chacham who appreciates halakha and found a way to make halakha work while dealing with the situation in front of them. I learned that the hard way. You look at a room full of people saying, okay, so just eat the pig, you know what, who cares?
Without a bracha.
Without a bracha, right. So here we're going to see some novel thought, but before, you know, this halakha is directly connected to a halakha. If you go back, halakha, Shulchan Aruch, chapter 141. 141. Maran writes in Laws of Torah. What does Torah reading have to do with food?
You have a bracha before you read it. So
Okay, so my grandfather, you know, the old Jewish tradition, not just the Yemenites. The Yemenites are just the only Jews who still do it. There's no such thing as a guy who reads the Torah. What does it mean, a guy who reads the Torah? When they call you up to read the Torah, what's your job?
Do bracha.
You go up, you make the brachot, you read, you make the brachot, and you sit down.
Yeah. Shake hands.
Shake hands, don't forget that. Donate some money by the Mishabah. In today's world, you go up, you make a bracha, someone else reads for you, you make a bracha, you go back, oh, chazak v'hu, shkoya, what? I didn't do anything. Every guy knows how to read that. Every parrot knows how to read his bar mitzvah. He knows how to say that. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim. Every guy knows that. Every parrot knows that. Everyone at bar does that like that. So what's so special? What are you saying chazak v'ruch to him for? He gets a Misha Berach, they honor him. And the guy who reads the Torah, you ever hear them do a Misha Berach for the guy who reads the Torah?
No.
Unless he gets an aliyah.
Unless he gets Aliyah. I mean, if he can read without vowels, for sure he knows how to read with vowels. The guy comes down from the Sefer Torah, nobody shakes his hand. Beautiful job in Torah.
We should.
I always wondered about that. It's funny that you should bring that up now. So how come you?
So in our building, when we used to get aliyot, I said, come on, I didn't prepare a second aliyah. I didn't prepare a second aliyah. I said, okay, go. I'd like to ask my grandson, who doesn't know Chumash by heart, to please say his brachot. And he was saying, he said, you remind me of the guy who goes to make mizonot on a cake and somebody else eats his cake for him. That's what he would tell me. I'm like, Saba, it's not the same thing. It is the same thing. Look at Maran, chapter 141. Lo yikre'u shnayim, halakha 2 in chapter 141. Lo yikre'u shnayim, two people cannot read the Torah out loud together. Ela ha'oleh koreh v'shliach tzibur shotek. Either the guy who's called up reads, and the chazan is quiet. Or shliach tzibur koreh v'ha'oleh lo yikra b'kol ram. Or the reader reads, but the one who goes up reads in a quiet voice. He does not read in a loud voice. Why is he reading at all?
To have the Yotzi actually reading the person.
So why is he reading quietly?
So he doesn't
So he
interfere
doesn't
with
say
the guy.
Because you can't have two people reading out loud. Certain things you can only have one person reading out loud.
And of course, why would you need two people to read out loud if you can read it yourself?
That's right. ומכל מקום,
To duet.
צריך הוא לקרות עם השליח ציבור. Everybody who gets an aliyah must read quietly with a shliach ציבור. כדי שלא תהיה ברכתו לבטלה. So his blessing will not be a blessing in vain. שצריך לקרות בנחת. You have to read nicely. שלא ישמיע לאוזניו. The guy shouldn't be hearing you reading in his ears. That's annoying. I used to have someone do that to me. I used to read it, and they used to read over here for me. I was driving crazy. Especially since they're making mistakes. It's very difficult. You give a speech. People whisper during a speech. I say, you don't want to hear a speech, go outside. It's okay. Nobody. It's more offensive to stay and to talk. When you try to think while someone else is talking, it's like you hear more voices than once. Remember we had here a rabbi that came to give us, what does a person with learning disabilities feel like when they're... They said, okay, you try to say, let's say you know something by heart. One sentence, you know about Mary had a little lamb. And we're all going to start screaming at each other from across the room while you're trying to say Mary had a little lamb. Nobody could finish the sentence of Mary had a little lamb. You get so confused by everything that's happening around you.
Yeah.
This is a real thing also by Kehillat Torah. One person reads, everybody listens. You go up to the Torah, either you read or the Chazan reads. But if the Chazan reads, you must read quietly along with him. Why you must read along with him? Because if he just reads for you, your blessing is a blessing in vain. Listen to me carefully. If you get an aliyah to the Torah and you do not read with the person who's reading the Torah, your bracha is saying Hashem's name in vain. Say it again. I know that there are 1,001 minhagim that differ from this. But this is halakha. It's bad enough we have someone reading the Torah for us. That's okay. I accept it.
I've started doing
But at the very least, we have to read with him. And it's very easy. You go 1 second behind him. He's reading. You just repeat what he's reading.
Right.
I mean, that's why he's there. He's there to read for you. So you could read it how quiet?
Well,
I hear you.
I mean, if you're looking over your shoulder and trying to read the script without the vowels, it's a challenge.
So don't read it for yourself. He's reading.
Yeah.
וידבר אדוני Moshe
No, I know.
Read
You
with
can
him.
follow
But you're
his,
supposed
what
to
he's
follow-
saying.
But following it,
Following is not enough. Reading, well, you have to read. You have to be able to know. Words have to be coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
so then you have to bring Chumash up.
No, you're not allowed to read from a chumash.
You can
Then-
hear him.
You must read from the scroll because the aliyah is yours, not his.
So you figure out the vowels by listening to him saying
by the
it,
verbal-
and you kind of
But
read something.
let me explain to you. When very important people used to come and speak in big places, how would they speak? They wouldn't scream at the top. By the way, I hear a lot of rabbis speaking. They scream when they speak. According to halakha, it's not derech eretz to scream when you speak. What kind of person screams? But they're not even screaming because they're angry. They're screaming because like they're worked up to this place of you're not allowed. Like, you look like a lunatic. If you're a person who's teaching Torah, you can't look like a crazy person. I don't care if that was accepted in the Jewish world. You're not allowed to. There used to be one Jewish speaker. I used to walk out of this class.
I've had a few of
He was
those.
screaming. He wasn't mad at anybody. He was screaming. I can't tell you how he was screaming. You're not allowed to speak like that. When Avraham Avinu is mourning his wife, Livkota, he cries with a small kaf. Why small? He says it's tzniut. Avraham Avinu was the leader of the world. You can't cry. You hear? Yeah, it's okay to have emotions. He's allowed to go and to cry. But now he's speaking to everybody else. Now he has to hold his composure. What? It's not being a man. Men don't cry. None of that nonsense. It's American nonsense. He's a leader. Now he has to focus on them. He has something. He's allowed to cry. He's allowed to emote. But there's a certain composure that an aristocrat has to have. Royalty has to have. Also with Kehillat Torah. So how did it work? People would come to a big auditorium. Let's say a governor, a mayor, a big Talmid Chacham. And it's huge. And thousands of people. It's before microphones. So it's not derech eretz for him to scream. So what does he do? He speaks like we're speaking right now. And then there's somebody at the end, like Anatoly. Anatoly, after every sentence he finishes, Anatoly stops, and Anatoly screams for everybody to hear. He's the microphone.
New job.
It's before the microphone, he was the microphone.
I'm transmitting.
Like the person who does the subtitles. You know, the you put the translator
Yeah,
in your ear,
right.
and they're speaking over that voice. That's the job. It's called meturgeman, literally a translator. And sometimes, by the way, it was meant to translate. Sometimes they would scream in the language not that the the important person was speaking. The Roman occupier, they're not speaking Roman, they're speaking Aramaic. That was their job. The Kehillat Torah is the same thing. He's your microphone. But you're supposed to be saying the words because it's your mitzvah, not his mitzvah. He didn't make a bracha. You made a bracha. Ad kadei kach, what happens if a person just can't read? Don't take an aliyah. Don't do it. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name in vain.
And people
It's
are
90%
never
of
asked
people.
whether they could read Hebrew.
Absolutely. So I'm going to make everyone feel good for just a minute. There are many places. In Morocco they had this minhag. In Ashkenaz, it seems, I never read in Ashkenaz they had this minhag, just that it seems they had this minhag. In Baltimore they read along with the Chazan. Everybody used to read the Chazan. But what about Amei Haaretz, people that don't know how to read? In Morocco I saw written on Sefer, on a book, that they had a minhag. Okay, the minhag is as long as he could follow along. Even if he's not read, at least he could read with the Chazan. He could follow without saying anything. That was considered b'diavad. That was okay. But it's not so simple. It's not so simple that that's the halakha way.
I assume then it's also isur to have people from the Kehillat correcting the reader every few lines loudly.
Well, that's an isur for a different reason. First off, 9 out of 10 times, the people who are correcting, they make a mistake.
Right.
In my
used to
experience,
have that.
I've heard these people correcting. You're making a mistake, Mr. Corrector. Until now, we had no idea that you didn't know how to read Hebrew properly. Now, you announced the whole bit of class you know how to read Hebrew.
That's what the Gabbai is for.
Very good.
Yeah.
But Ashkenazi synagogues have more order than Sephardic synagogues.
Yeah.
In Ashkenazi synagogues, they have one person at the bima, that's his job. Also by us. They have a job to correct. And if he doesn't correct, then get a new guy who corrects.
Yeah.
But that person is the only one who should be correcting. And I'll tell you also in terms of halakha, of embarrassing a person.
Yeah.
This person, when I go to read the Torah, I know that the person next to me, he's going to correct me. So I'm giving my permission, it is a word for it, consent,
Yeah.
that this person will correct me and I will not be embarrassed by this person correcting me. But when you 30 rows back start screaming at me, who?
So the two of you are working together to do it. It's not,
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not as somebody's like interceding.
Okay, when
Yeah.
in Baltimore, the Baal Kohen, he would have to read the whole parasha to, I think, at least 1 or 2 rabbis before Shabbat. If he would make a mistake, they wouldn't let him read. And then if he made a mistake on Shabbat, he just never read again for the rest of his life. I remember, I don't think I ever in the yeshiva heard somebody make a mistake during Kehillat Torah. I don't remember. Maybe once I remember such a story. Now, obviously, my wife will hear the story. She's like, those litvaks, Okay, I understand. But there's something good about that. That order is good. Now, think about a bar mitzvah boy. I once heard Ashkenazi Tamicham say, reading the Torah on Shabbat, it's only a rabbinic obligation. To make a mistake, nobody's even convinced that making a mistake is really a problem. He didn't change the meaning of the word, didn't change it. Now, this bar mitzvah boy is reading. It's his first time ever standing in front of a community reading. You, how old are you? You're older than 13? Yeah. You have to prove yourself to anybody? Clearly you do. That's why you're still at the age of 90, still screaming inside of the Beit Knesset. There's some kinds of people in the Beit Knesset, they suffer from narcissistic personality disorder. Their whole life. I don't think you can find anywhere else in the world with more narcissists inside of the Beit Knesset. A certain type, this type, they exist in every Beit Knesset. Their job, maybe Baruch Hashem, I don't know, we gave one away, we didn't get a new one in return, so it could be right now we're temporarily out of order with our narcissists, but every community has these people. They read, they scream. This person is now, what is he doing? You want to show everybody that you know how to read Hebrew? Good for you, so you go read the Torah. Now it's this guy's bar mitzvah. You're correcting him once, twice. Sometimes it's brutal. Sometimes a bar mitzvah kid my son doesn't know how to read. That's a different problem. Why is the bar mitzvah kid reading the parasha? Who invented this custom that the bar mitzvah kid reads the parasha? It's not a Jewish custom. It didn't come from within the Jewish community, this custom. It came from outside of the Jewish community, this custom. So a kid got up, got aliyah, they gave him some, I met an old Chabad Chassid. They got up, they gave him aliyah, they took him to the back of the synagogue, gave him some kichel and herring, and that was a bar mitzvah, mazal tov, go home. In the Yemenite community, kids are reading the Torah from the age of 6. Nothing happens at 13. At 13, they just mazal tov. Now you're reading the Torah and you're 13. But 13, this kid comes up. There's this one experience. This is what's going to determine whether he's going to come back to the Beit Knesset, whether he's going to try to read the Torah again. Now all you can do is embarrass him in front of everybody. His friends are there, his grandmother's there, his great aunt is there, his the kids from his class are there. For what? For mitzvah rabbanan, for rabbinic commandment. What happened to the biblical commandments that go along with that? What happens with the continuity of the Jewish community? It's very important in the bar mitzvah to say, Cheva, if you correct the bar mitzvah boy, you're going to come up to read the Torah. I did it once. Once I did such a thing. One guy didn't stop correcting. So I stopped the services, not on this Beit Knesset. I said, please, why don't you come up and read the Torah instead? You think this guy without his chumash knows how to read the Torah? It's so nice for you with your vowels and your punctuation to know how to read the Torah. Let's put you up there and see if you know how to read the Torah.
Well, they're self-appointed checkers.
That's right. So that's what I'm saying. In Ashkenazi synagogue, very often with the competent rabbi, only the person who's the gabbai and the bima corrects. That's correct. It's a correct minhag. Halavai on us that people would follow such a thing. So, I didn't come to tell you about Torah reading, but it is important when you go up, or if you're the Torah reader, tell the person. Well, now it was my bar mitzvah parsha, so I read on Shabbat. I don't normally read in Beit Knesset. I told every person who got on the app, hey, read out loud with me. And I asked the gabbai not to give anybody an aliyah that I'm afraid doesn't know how to read. Let somebody else do that. Why do I have to do that? Alright, so let's look at this tshuva from Rabbi Yosef Masas. I don't have it on Safari yet because they didn't put Rabbi Yosef Masas on Safari yet.
You know, when I was in Boston,
Yeah.
they have a lunch and learn of Rabbi Halevy.
Chaim Halevy?
Yes.
Really? Who gave the class?
I don't know who the rabbi was, but it was at it was at the Hillel.
Really?
Of Harvard. Harvard.
Here, Chaim Halevy. He's our.
I told people about it.
Hashem. Let's look. You know what? I can do this. I can send you. Would you like to follow along later inside? Or you don't really care?
Sure.
So let me send you the. Give me 1 second. I'll pull up the.
I didn't know anybody else knew it.
Some Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Chaim Halevy, believe it or not, is actually having a resurgence in the Jewish community.
Let's see why.
That's with so many letters. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Motorola?
Yeah, it's Motorola. It's stupid. It's embarrassing, really.
Did you find that in the museum? Or? We used to have a Motorola flip phone.
Does everybody have access to the Google Classroom?
Eraser.
If I post a link to the Google Classroom, you get it? Okay.
Turn on my phone.
Little classrooms, but I don't know where.
Oh, yeah, that's different.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. We have a couple.
I just sent it out to everybody in the
I don't know where it's going to go yet.
So you want to open up your Google Classroom
And go to what?
and
Is
go to
it
the
a-
Shiviti Night Kola class because you're in a few
Oh, okay.
Google Classrooms.
Is it an email?
It should send out an email also.
Yeah.
So you should probably check your email and
It's easier to
What's the Rabbi
check
also?
the emails.
That's
yeah, that one.
You click on the attachment.
Yeah. Oh man, that's gonna.
Yeah, feeding those that don't was.
Excellent.
Did you get anything?
Not
Mike?
Colwell.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Press it and then choose which
Found it?
web you want. You
I
want.
think I have Safari.
Okay,
Right
go,
on
go
the
for
side.
Safari.
I don't know, but I'll find out here. Okay, yeah.
Came out a very small.
Yeah, you zoom
Well,
in.
that might be it.
That air one pager?
It's one page, and then when we go to the next page,
Yeah.
you see the link on top. It's going to say next. It's next to the number 187 on top. You're going to click next, but not yet. Only when we need to go next. This is one of his books, volume 3 of Otsal HaMichtavim. It's called the Treasury of Letters. See in the left column?
Mhm.
That's letter Elef Tat Tat Tu. Taf Taf Tet Vav. That is 1,000. What's Taf? 400 plus Taf.
800.
400. What do you have to do yet?
800.
800 plus Tet. What is Tet? Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet.
9.
9. And then what's Vav?
6.
6.
1,020.
I'm improving.
Very good. But what's Tet Vav?
Oh, that's Vav. It's
9 plus 6?
15.
15. So we're on letter 1,815.
Wow.
1,850. Okay.
Now I'm using a little bit of a different font than you, text than you, so just the left column. Lema'alat. Mechubadenu, to our dear friend, Harav HaGaon, the genius rabbi, v'chule, v'chule. What does that mean? Etc., etc.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, add your own titles here.
Is that Hebrew, Rabbi?
Is that used?
Yeah, very up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sometimes even say it. It means it's like you would write etc. or you would say etc. etc. Right? That was the same.
Oh.
Benashk. What is that? You see where I'm up to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Benan shel kiddushim, the son of holy people.
Ah.
Meaning he's not essentially, okay, he could be, he is, I don't know who he is, but he's not a rabbi, but he's a son of rabbis, or the grandson of rabbis. Mar Yisrael Yefet, Yafet Shlita, Mr. Yisrael Yefet. Shalom, shalom. Rav ve'atzum, a wondrous and great person. Michtavav ha'ikarim, your precious letters, higi'uni bi'itam, they reached me at the time that you sent them. Ve'omes ha'avodah, but the yoke of my work, ve'atziburit ve'echidit, both my public work and my private work. Gadar ba'di ve'achar ve'cher adata, he said, that held me back and I'm late in responding to your letter. The way Rabbi Yosef Masas letters work, you see there's an Aleph in one paragraph, Bet in the next paragraph, Gimel in the next paragraph. So these are 3 questions he's answering. The first question, Advar tafshil ha-couscous. Regarding cooking things, the couscous. He has a question regarding couscous. How you cook it. You know what couscous is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Moroccan rice. It's a little semolina, it's little granules. Yep. Okay, bet.
Beautiful. Wheat.
One of the best foods in the world.
Good.
Bet. I want to read you bet, just because if we have the book in front of us, it's forbidden to pass over a mitzvah, and this is a mitzvah to hear this one.
It's a love wheat, seriously. You can't make bread from it.
Why don't we do the whole letter? Can we have time? Let's do the letter. Let's do his letter. Question 1. Advar tafshil couscous. Regarding the food called couscous. He's asking him, you know the way you make couscous? Maybe today they don't make couscous. Everyone today is making
You
instant
steam it
couscous.
in a steamer,
Yes.
and then you roll it in olive oil to make it stick together.
Okay, and then what do?
You
Eat
pour
it.
a soup.
A soup on top of it. So really the way most women used to make this is they would steam the couscous, and that would cook it mostly. Maybe you could eat it that way, but really what gave it its final cook was the hot boiling soup you poured on top of it. This soup sometimes it's like zucchinis and garbanzo beans and carrots and onions, and sometimes it has meat or chicken, but sometimes it's just plain
Sometimes
soup.
fish too.
Sometimes fish, right? All kinds. It's couscous. It's a food. It's a one pot food.
Olives too,
Yeah,
dried olives.
right, dried olives. There are all kinds of couscous, and because you eat this so many times during the year, there are different kinds. In Rosh Hashanah, you have some sweet ones, and other holidays you have some other ones.
Yeah, raisins.
Couscous, right? Exactly. Couscous comes in many varieties. The bottom line is there's steaming of the rice. I'm going to call it rice because you don't all know what couscous is. And then there's the pouring of the boiling a soup on top of it.
So is it always done with soup? Because that's,
No, Ashkenazim or Americans have never seen the couscous with
Yeah,
soup. It's always
Ashkenazim.
couscous is served like rice as a
yeah,
side dish.
that's the way I.
That's
Is it
right.
a Moroccan
I
dish?
never saw
It is a Moroccan dish. It's kind of like how
My wife's
we take
aunt was
other
an
foods
expert
and
on
we
it.
just, it's like cultural appropriation. No, we just make it our own way. Like when I was in Italy, I saw there's only one kosher restaurant where I was. It says glad kosher hamburgers and pizza.
Yeah, in the next room.
I said like, okay, that's interesting. Maybe there's no kosher places at all. I come inside. In Italy, pizza doesn't have cheese on it.
Right.
Pizza is a bread. It's like a fresh bread with sauce sometimes,
And
and then you kind of
vegetables.
go down a salad bar and they put spinach or this salad or that salad or the next salad, whatever you want, and that's pizza.
That's the original.
so
That's
do it.
original pizza.
And we don't do it that way in
No,
America.
the American version of pizza is we took their bread and their sauce and we
It's a
threw
travesty.
cheese on it and then made it into. And so you think pizza with burgers, you're like, oh, that's definitely not kosher, but they think pizza
You know, how
burgers.
that,
And
you know how that developed, by the way?
no, I have no idea.
I remember when I was a kid in the old days, you couldn't get fresh produce like you did in Italy all year round in America. So the only way to make Italian food was to get canned tomatoes or tomato sauce. And then they couldn't get the vegetables, so they used cheese instead and other things.
So and there you go.
It was a flatbread with vegetables and some kind of tomato puree, but everything fresh.
Like I recently, remember I was talking about, I was reading an article about the Queen of England, what she's allowed to eat. Maybe there was a Sunday class, so they're not allowed to eat. So in there, it just, when I was reading food etiquette articles, they're talking, there's a food dish that a lot of people eat. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it, because I don't eat it. It's called the spaghetti bolognese.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's basically
Bolognese?
bolognese. Oh, there you go. Look at the Jewish version.
Yeah.
It's spaghetti with like meat sauce
Yeah,
on top of it.
meat
As they're
sauce.
saying, this person went all the way to Italy, wanted to taste spaghetti, but he ordered in the restaurant. The waiter looked at him and said, "What?" It's this, you know. He said, "Oh, we don't serve that here. That's like you go to McDonald's if you want to eat that. We don't serve that at very fine Italian restaurants. You know, like what we call Chinese food. Chinese people are not eating what
Right.
we call Chinese.
Right.
It's very natural. So couscous, yes, couscous today is just served like a side dish, but really it's a main dish that has a soup
meal.
on top. It's a whole
In
meal.
Russia, it's a
It
meal.
has your couscous. You have your vegetables, you have your sauce, and you have your proteins if you add to there, and that's the meal.
Sort of,
Okay.
Sort of like Luxon.
Like lakshan, that you add to the chicken
Lahavdil.
soup.
Yeah.
הן אמת שבישולו על ידי העדים העולים לתוכו מנקבי הכלי המנוקב מהסיר הרותח תחתיו. It's true that couscous is steamed through the holes in the bottom of the pot. Is you basically put the couscous on top of boiling water that steams through the holes in the bottom of the pot.
It's straight.
It's straight, right? Yeah.
Colander, it's called.
עם כל זה אין דרך לאכולו ככה. Even though that's cooked, nobody eats couscous that way.
In the
ורק עד ששופכים עליו מרק, until you pour the soup on top of it, nobody eats the couscous plain.
He got it from the master, so.
ולכן, and therefore, מחמירים עליו בשבת, we're strict on שבת, שאין שופכים עליו רותח, רק אם כבר בא ברותחים ערב שבת. We don't pour the boiling soup on top of the couscous on Shabbat, unless it has already had boiling liquid poured on it before Shabbat. Because there's no cooking after cooking.
Right.
So even though the food has been steamed, his whole thing is the steaming didn't make it cooked enough for a Moroccan Jew to eat it. And only what cooks it well enough is when you pour the boiling liquid on top of it. Uvdiavad, but if after the fact, אם לא שפך עליו מערב Shabbat, if you didn't pour liquid on it before Shabbat, והיה צריך לו בשבת, and you for whatever reason needed it on Shabbat, שופך עליו אפילו יבש, מאחר שהוא מבושל על ידי עדים ונאכל על ידי הדחק. You can pour the soup on top of the dry couscous. What does it mean dry couscous? Not the uncooked couscous. The dry couscous meaning the one that before you put the liquid on it, because technically you could have eaten it before Shabbat when it was just steamed. So therefore, if for whatever reason you had a lot of guests and you forgot to pour the soup on it on Shabbat, you're allowed to do it on Shabbat.
You mean
Yeah.
because it's already cooked?
Because it's already cooked, even though normally we wouldn't want you to do that because it's not cooked enough. Yes?
Okay, So maybe
Qu-
that's why Ashkenazi Jews
Don't have
only
the soup.
Don't have it in the soup.
No, it's not actually, it's like an American thing. American
guess.
places, you go to all events all over the place, that's the bet. על עניין אותו חלום שחלם כבודו. And regarding the dream that you honorable man dreamed about and you wrote me about. אני אומר למעלת כבודו החביב עליי, I'm telling your honor who's very dear to me, שלא תשים לב לחלומות כלל כלל. Don't listen to dreams at all, at all. יהיו מה שיהיו, no matter what you dream about. ושם ליבו להם, and anybody who starts paying attention to their dreams, הוא יכול להביא על עצמו מחלת הדמיון חלילה. He can bring upon himself the disease of imagination, God forbid. He calls a lot, it's like superstition. Rabbi Yosef Masas considers half of the customs that Jewish people do to be products of the disease of Dimayon. Too many people dream too much. They think too much. They worry. What's going to happen? I do this. I walked under a ladder. They opened up an umbrella inside of the house. I didn't bake a key inside of my challah. What's going to do without a red string? All the things that people worry about. He says, this is all machalat dimayon. What are you getting involved inside of this? Shehi machala she'en la trufa. He said it's a disease that has no cure to it. Vayen b'sifri ner mitzvah. Look what I wrote in my book Ner Mitzvah on page 170. Ma shekatavti alehim, what I wrote about them over there. He was really mean to the people with the dimayon diseases. When somebody once wrote him a book in Kabbalah all about all the punishments that will happen to people who don't keep Shabbat, who don't eat kosher, who don't. Rabbi Yosef Masas says, please, don't write such things about people. He says, the crazy things that you're writing. He says, Bob, they're all written in books. He says, so the people who wrote the books also had a crazy imagination. Doesn't mean you have to write it also.
Wow.
Gimmel. Third.
Sounds like the pastor.
Yes. Nishal kvodo michavero shu adam dati. You've been asked by your friend who's a religious man. V'yesh lo chaverim chilonim menumasim. And he has friends that are chilonim, that are not observant Jews, that are menumasim, very proper people, refined people. I mean, they're good people. They're not bringing in gangsters into your house. They're just people who are not observant. V'hem mitachim etzlo, and they're staying in his home. U'machilim al shulchano basar v'yain u'moshitem akol. And he has them on his table, and he feeds them food and wine and meat and all the food. They're his guests and everything. It is not violating the prohibition that Maran says that you cannot give bread to a person who doesn't bless on it. Tshuva. Here's my answer. Look at Rabbi Yosef Masas. Remember what I told you on Wednesday night? Like I said, it doesn't make a difference that you read Shulchan Aruch. It makes a difference how you read Shulchan Aruch. There's two different things. We all read the same Shulchan Aruch. What makes the difference is how we read the Shulchan Aruch. Rabbi Yosef Masas was a master at reading the Shulchan Aruch, actually trying to understand what Shulchan Aruch said. Not like a duck, or a parrot, I don't know. Maran Zal. Maran wrote, Lo katav devar zeh b'shon isur. Look at Maran. Maran didn't write this, that it's forbidden to give a person who doesn't bless bread. Ela b'shon azhara. The language that Maran used is a language of a warning. You shouldn't give food to somebody who's not going to bless. There are many halachot like this. Remember by the kippah?
Yeah.
Kippah says, Lo yelech adam b'gilei rosh. A person should not walk with his head uncovered. So everybody learned, he must wear a kippah. But the poskim say, no, relax. If Maran wanted to demanded a kippah, he would say it's forbidden to walk without a kippah. He says you should not walk without. What is should? Maran tells you should listen. But it's not a isu, it's not forbidden. Dehainu rak chumra, this is only a stringency. V'zeh l'shono, this is what Maran writes. Lo yiten lechol el mi sheyoda bo shivarech. You cannot give food unless you give it to a person who you know is going to bless. And then what does Rabbi Yosef say? V'azhara lo, this warning, lo niskera lo b'shas, it's not found in any of the Talmud. Lo b'poskim harishonim, and it's not found in any of the writings of the Rishonim. Rak Rabbeinu Yonah hivi'ah. Rabbeinu Yonah is a Rishon, chevra. What does it mean? Only Rabbeinu Yonah brings it? Yes. Rabbeinu Yonah hivi'ah. Who's Rabbeinu Yonah? Where's he from? Giron. You're very good. Rabbeinu Yonah mentions this idea that you shouldn't give bread to somebody who didn't wash. V'dacha ota. And he pushed it away. He disproved this prohibition. I mean, that's the earliest source we have. Is Rabbeinu Yonah says there are those people who won't give bread to a person who doesn't wash. But they're wrong. What's his logic? Because he's doing the mitzvah of tzedakah, of charity, giving food to another person, he's not violating the prohibition of do not put a stumbling block in front of a blind person. Because he's doing tzedakah. And whether he will bless or he won't bless, you give him the food. And that's exactly where Moram is the way that Sfaradim say Ramah. Moreinu v'Rabbeinu Moshe. Our master and our teacher, Moshe.
So what you're saying here is...
It says this is the origin of the Ramah who says that when you're giving food to somebody for tzedakah, remember the Ramah says that? Mm-hmm. He says you don't care if he blesses or not. He gets that from Rabbeinu Yonah. Yes.
No, just that halacha is you're showing here it's situational and individual. So
Well,
you
yeah, he's
have to
saying
know
that
how to do
if
it.
this was a biblical prohibition, or was even a rabbinic prohibition, what are you going to do? You're stuck. So, but Maran doesn't even mention it as a prohibition. He mentions it as a warning, a suggestion. And the suggestion's origins are not very old. It's not from the Shas. It's not from the Rishonim. And the Ramah even says in the matter of tzedakah is more important than this concern of not giving somebody who can't bless. V'chen askamat habach, and the Bach agrees. Uvala prisha, the prisha agrees. V'dachu hasagat Rabbi Sham, Rabbi Yonatan. Okay, but bottom line is they agree. They agree. Hachanami dekavta. Shekol hazmanat ochim. So now let's talk about your case. That every time you invite guests to your home, yesh ba'ez siba sheyesh ba'mitzvah. There's always going to be a mitzvah in having guests inside of your house. Listen carefully. Either because you're fulfilling the basic commandment of Hachnasat Orchim, but it could be the reason why the Shas never mentions it in the first place, because that's the reason why. Or it's because it's causing love between friends. That's a mitzvah. O Gmul Tova, or because you're paying back somebody. They were kind to you, now you're trying to repay their kindness here. O Shlom Mishpacha, or sometimes you have guests not because you like them, but because you want to keep peace with your family. It gets better, this one. And you notice how they're getting worse and worse? You know, like it's like sometimes you just put on because
Are the in-laws next?
oh, the man lo yizikehu, or it's because you don't want them to hurt you. You host people, you show kindness to people because you're afraid of them. Or it's because you're trying to get something out of them. Or they came to your house without being invited. It's almost impossible to send somebody out of your house without feeding them. And it's a great sin if you are degrading their honor. People came to your house, we're not going to feed them. Like a rabbi said, don't disgrace anybody. I'm going to pause for a minute. He brings here, in my book, in my edition, there's a note from the grandson of Rabbi Yosef Masas. He quotes a book called Minchat Shlomo. Minchat Shlomo was written by an Ashkenazi rabbi called Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. My parents liked Rabbi Auerbach a lot. My parents told me once that he reminds him of a Sephardic posek. The way he thought was very different than everyone else, the way they thought. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says that sometimes a person comes to your house, they're not observant. Just the fact that you're not going to feed somebody based on their level of observance is enough to cause someone to hate Judaism. And Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says, so what are you accomplishing? You're accomplishing chilul Hashem, like a real desecration of what, I go to the religious people, they don't feed me. I go to the Bedouins and they give me food. I go walk into church and they'll give me something to drink. I go walk into bed, do you know how to make a bracha? Sorry, leave. So you're missing out on a basic humanity here. You're going to cause people to curse Am Yisrael, to curse the Torah, to curse mitzvot. That's a bigger avirah than what you're trying to avoid. Now back in Rabbi Yosef Masas, and therefore, if so, because in every situation you possibly have guests and there's either a big mitzvah or a small mitzvah, it's very cruel, mean to embarrass somebody, and it's almost impossible to rebuke them. Hey, you better start making brachot. What do you mean? You don't eat without a bracha? Not every person knows how to guide a person on the right path. It would be wiser for some people to just shut up. The Gadol HaShalom, and peace is greater than all this. Greet every person who comes to your home with a smiling face. And serve them. And they should eat and they should drink until they're satisfied in health. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you sachar. Hashem will give you a reward. Not just you're going to be doing an averah, you'll be rewarded for the way you host other people. And Hashem will pour on everybody a spirit that they will love Jewish people so much, they will love religious people so much, that they'll end up blessing HaKadosh Baruch Hu on their own because of how we act. Amen. That should be. It says, this is a lot that I wish to write here, but I can't. You make Kol Yisrael Yarich, and Hashem should make all the Jewish people live long. B'chol Tuf Sela, Amen, V'Amen, B'chol Amod. Achechem Atzair, your younger brother. It's not his brother, but it's a show of love. Eved Hashem Yosef Masas, the servant of Hashem Yosef Masas, Safetev, who should live a long life. What do you think about that letter? What does Rabbi Yosef Massas do with the halakha?
He applies it to specific situations. He also sees the ramifications of doing it strictly.
That's right. What does he show you also about this prohibition? Where does it come from?
The Rishonim.
Even later, the Rishonim reject it. So it does come afterwards. What Rabbi Yosef Massas is showing you, not every halakha in the Shulchan Aruch is created equally. Maran himself wrote it only as a warning. Probably the reason he wrote it as a warning is because it's not actually halakha, it's not mentioned beforehand. And Maran is writing it in such a way, telling the posek, hey, when you're in a situation where there's something else that trumps this, don't pay attention to it. Which is why the Rama is the first one to jump up and say, hey, in a case of tzedakah, this doesn't apply. You don't have to make that an argument between the Rama and Maran. Rama is simply spelling out what Maran was hinting to. And if tzedakah is enough, Rabbi Yosef Massas says, so what is it showing you? That a mitzvah is greater than this concern that maybe somebody will eat without a blessing. In that situation, says Rabbi Yosef Massas, the Rama's logic applies to pretty much every case in which you have guests. There are very few cases in which maybe you can't even think of one, that you're going to have a guest, and that this guest is not there out of some mitzvah, if it's being kind to a person, if it's hosting a person, and therefore this kind of halakha shouldn't concern a person at all. I've seen people write articles about how it's terrible that we host people that are not observant, how it's terrible that we give food to our relatives that don't keep kashrut, and I sometimes I wonder to myself, you read a Shulchan Aruch and you butchered the Shulchan Aruch. You read a Ramah, you don't even understand what he's talking about. It's so obvious, but we live in a generation where the obvious must be spelled out very clearly.